The Niners met with Nebraska wide receiver Samori Touré, who I've never freaking heard of. It's big news.
No.
And a lot of people are meeting with this guy. He was a transfer from Montana. He's 6'3", ran a 4.4 or something, and gets down the field. Had a pretty good year at Nebraska last year. What do you think of this news that the Niners are meeting with Samori Touré, who might be a 7th-round pick or an undrafted free agent?
Yeah, this is an undrafted free agent to me. And also one other thing with him, he's 24 years old right now.
He's 24 years old.
So this isn't exactly, your normal college prospect. And I think the thing with him, you kind of hit all the main points, which is explosive athlete. He actually had some nice combine numbers in terms of his 3-cone. He had a sub-7 3-cone. That's really good, and that's a good
Niners all over that.
Oh, yeah. No, that is a really important metric in terms of wide receivers. People look at the 40s all the time. That doesn't necessarily translate as well. The 3-cone time is important. So I guess he did well in that. And, he's an explosive guy. Maybe they see him as a special teamer. I don't really know what his special team experience was. I was trying to find some more information on him. But he's a yak guy too, so he kind of fits the 49ers profile. I would say overall, though, to me, this shows, or doesn't show exactly for sure, but it gives me an inkling that maybe they're going to be more aggressive towards the wide receiver position in the draft. And this isn't the guy they would be their number one guy they'd be taking in the 4th or 3rd round or something like that. But I think, Grant, if you look at the way the position is going in general with how much teams are spending on these guys once they do hit free agency, getting wide receivers in the draft, getting them year after year, getting starters who you can play with all the guys who already have injury risks. I mean, Debo and Ayuk both have injury history in their career, especially in these last 2 to 3 years. They need to draft another receiver, and it needs to be in the 3rd or 4th round. Now, this can be another guy you take maybe in round 7, you take him as an undrafted free agent. But overall, to me, I think I look at this more as a receiver position thing. They need to be more aggressive with the position. They need to get another guy in the building who is at least capable of starting. Let's say if a Debo or an Ayuk go down for a month, what are you going to do with those outside guys, right? You're not going to stick Ray McCloud out there necessarily. So they need another starter at the position, and I think they should draft another guy probably at the end of round 3. If not, maybe early round 4. But this is another guy, too, who you can probably get as an undrafted free agent.
Yeah, I think this kind of reveals the kind of wide receiver the Niners are looking for and the price range. I mean, if you thought the Niners were going to draft a wide receiver in round 2 or round 3, maybe. But this kind of indicates that they're sort of looking at, the Dollar General wide receivers. And it makes sense to me because while they do need depth, they have their 2 starters. Ayuk, Debo, they're not necessarily trying to bring in competition for either one. They also have their number 3 guy. They do like Juwan Jennings. Now, Jennings isn't proven. Like, Ayuk and Debo have multiple seasons under their belt. Jennings has like half a season of producing, but they still like him. I think they'd like to hedge their bets with him and bring in someone who not can compete, but at least do similar things, maybe be a little bit faster. Seems like this guy would factor in. I mean, if you draft him in round 7 or take him as an undrafted free agent, he's not replacing Juwan Jennings. You don't have to be like, well, we like Jennings, but we spent a 4th round pick on him, so we kind of have to leapfrog. Because the Niners do play that roster politic game a little bit. It's why Richie James Jr. never got targets, but Dante Pettis did. Like, maybe they don't want to do that. Maybe they want to keep Juwan Jennings in his role and have someone right there with him because Ray McCloud's different. So maybe this is where they're looking, round 6, round 7, undrafted free agent. That's exciting.
Yeah.
It's a historically great class of wide receivers, and they're looking at some dude who come on. Some dude named – anyway.
Well, and that's my point, Grant, is they need to go after – they need to go after another outside guy, though, because they really only have Ayuk and Debo right now. I mean, as things stand, who's that 3rd outside receiver? I don't think they have that guy on their roster right now. So they need to go get that guy some way, somehow. I would prefer they invest more in the position, but I think you're probably more right. They go 5th, 6th, 7th round, go for a traits guy, big, explosive, whatever happens in his college career. Maybe he doesn't have all the production, but This guy certainly fits the bill of that sort of player. More of a 7th rounder and drafted free agent, though.
I wouldn't be surprised if the Niners draft 2 wide receivers or 1 and an undrafted free agent. I mean, they only have 4 in their roster. They usually carry 6. They could use a small, fast guy like Travis Benjamin who runs a 4.3. They could use a tall, fast guy like this. I mean, they might look for different types of wide receivers, but don't get your hopes up for like a top 100 picks at a wide receiver. Although, if Christian Watson falls, I'm sure they would take him.